Day 71 of Infinity. We are here doing This Is Not Advice. Just giving you our perspective on the questions of the day. Hit it, man. What are we asking? What are we answering?
I don't know. We get this one a lot. It's like, we meet really smart, awesome people. And then sometimes when they're thinking about figuring out what's their next step, they ask, like, do I need a co-founder? Should I have a co-founder? If that's the direction you want to go.
I was looking at a news piece today that there's a rumor that a report that Kevin Systrom, the co-founder of Instagram, was considering going to TikTok as CEO. And he famously recruited, famously to me anyway, recruited Mike Krieger as his technical co-founder. But here's my answer to your question, the question. My answer is no. Here's the reason why. If you're asking yourself if I should have a co-founder, then you don't obviously need one. And it's not a rule that you need a co-founder. So by the way, I think co-founding teams are great. Google did very well with a co-founding team, but there used to be this voodoo going around in the VC world, like never fund companies that have a solo founder. But it's like, this guy Jeff seemed to do pretty well. This guy Elon did pretty well. This woman Katrina seems to have done very well. And so it seems to me like the evidence suggests you can win in multiple ways. And so the way instead that I think about it is, when should I have a co-founder? Well, the answer is when either you wish to start the company with a person, and I had a co-founder. I worked with Julie Ehrman, and she was the primary founder, and I was the secondary founder, and it worked great. I would never have been able to do it without her. I don't know that whether she would have been able to do it without me, Julie. That's for you to opine on. So that's one time. It's like, this is like my sister, my brother, like we're going to do this together. The other is when you have a skill that you need, and you need a person to play a role as significant as co-founder. So in the case of Instagram, it was like Kevin Systrom hacked up some prototype, but ultimately to have a technical founder who was able to make this thing sing was a thing that I understand that he went out and needed. And so it depends on what you're building. It depends on what need you're filling. The only other thing I'd say is I think it's an error when founders say, VCs tell me I need a blank co-founder, so I'm going to go find one. VC told you so is never a reason for anything. Do you actually think you need it? If so, then great. But one VC told you is not a reason. So those are some of my thoughts, but I don't know, man, like you've been getting good credit on VC Guide for this. You've had so many people who have noted your skill in working with founding teams. And I'm just curious what this brings up for you.
I mean, it's so funny. It was reminding me, there's a great Wharton professor, shout out to Professor Ethan Mollick, who actually does a lot of research on
I thought
founders.
it was Stanford professor. So you just elevated Wharton for me. Ethan Mollick lifting the Wharton brand.
And he has research that he's done. I think this was a couple of years ago, and I think he's doing like a redo of it with like new data. But he through this data exercise, he learned that a lot of solo founders actually last longer in terms of building their company, and actually are just no more or less successful than teams. And in fact, teams can be detrimental in some ways because decision-making becomes harder.
Fucking talking.
So the answer to should I, there's no should, right? I think it is very much to your point, like when is it appropriate for me to bring on? Because there's also a valid reason to, yesterday we were talking about how your significant other is very much your co-founder. And there's something very real to that, emotional, social support too.
Yeah, one strongly held view that I have is Insta teams are harder to make work, by which I mean a team that forms for the purpose of starting the company. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Instagram is one of them, but most of the time, the co-founding teams that I see work the best have long pre-existing history or intense pre-existing history with each other, where they've had some base of experiences on which to draw to trust each other and blah, blah, blah. But credit to Kevin and Mike for making it work regardless. And TikTok is the poor for not having Kevin Systrom. All right.
All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. This is Not Advice, day 71, and we're answering your questions about work. Let us know if you have other questions. You can find Roy and me on Twitter and anywhere else on the web, probably.
All the places. Thank you, man.
Sounds good.